Hey guys, Doug Walker here, looking pretty scuzzy because I'm just about to do a bum review on what movie, you may ask? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, of course, and you might be wondering where Rob is. He, on principle, will not review this movie because of this remark that Michael Bay made when Transformers 4 was coming out, saying, hey, all you guys will hate it, but you'll still go see it, and Rob just said, no, I won't. So if there's any Michael Bay movie he's not interested in or doesn't want to support, he won't go see it to prove that that is what makes the big difference, and actually I really admire him for that, so good for you, but I gotta go see it. Because it's kind of my job to see bad movies and to report on them and talk about them and say what the hell does that mean if they're a hit or they're not a hit or that this is what we consider entertainment. So before we go into that, you probably want to know a little bit of history about Ninja Turtles and me, because that plays a big part in whether or not you're gonna like this movie, I think. I huge into Ninja Turtles, huge. Loved the cartoon, the original cartoon. Loved the original comic, the really gory one, where the blood is black for some reason. It's weird. Like the adventure comics, I had a collection of Ninja Turtle toys in this Ninja Turtle laundry bag that was like double the size of me at that time. So love Ninja Turtles, absolutely obsessed. Loved the movies until 3 came out, and that's when I started to lose it, as I think a lot of kids did. They started to grow out of it and said, whatever, fun little time in our life, but it's done. And in the past, 20 years? It's gone through so many reincarnations. This is, I mean, like Batman and Superman and Spider-Man, so I mean, they've gone through a lot of reincarnations, but they've been around for like, years and years and years. Turtles is still pretty young when you think about it, and it's still kind of going. It's gone through all of these different revisions. Who the hell would have thunk? Who would have thought that? And I've kind of kept out of the loop for that simply because it's just not my thing anymore. Turtles will always have a place in my heart. I'm always going to remember those memories, and even the first film, the live action one, which is not technically a good film, but I'm still going to love it. It's still Turtles to me. I look at it, I go, wow, there's Michelangelo, Donatello. It's always going to have a place in my heart, but I haven't kept up. I know there's a new show now, and they had TMNT, the movie, and they've done, like I said, all these different, they had another hand-drawn anime one. They've gone through so many revisions. Most of them are here or good. Again, just not my thing right now. But I hear they're good, and people were so pissed off when they saw Michael Bay was behind this new one. He was going to make them aliens, and they changed that, obviously. So going into this film, I definitely have a history, but I'm not a purist. I'm not someone that says, oh, it has to be this way, because I've seen all the different versions they've done. April's a teenager now, like in the new show, in the CG show. When everybody's like, you can't have Megan Fox as April. I'm like, but she's a teenager now. But okay, we'll get to that. So I went into this movie really wanting to hate it, actually, mostly because I am so sick of the boredom that is Michael Bay. I always say he has made it boring to be a man now. All the stereotypical man stuff that, we used to love. We used to love explosions. We used to love jumping in slow-mo. We used to love punching. It's all boring now. Thank you, Michael Bay. You have totally sucked out the fun of that. And I really thought this was going to be the exact same thing. It was going to be Transformers 5 just with Turtles. And parts of it are. Actually, many parts are. I'm not going to lie. But going into this, it's both a little better and a little worse than I thought it was going to be. I'm trying to think even where to start. Well, first off, they had an advertisement for Turtles 2. This was at Hollywood Boulevard, and they're having the guy who played like the Super Shredder is going to come there. And they had an advertisement for Turtles 2. And you can't do that, guy. You can't show those incredible animatronic, those incredible costumes before this CGI shit. You can't. That hurt the movie big time when you just see, because the Turtles in the first 2 films, especially the first one, are amazing. They're amazing looking, and you know that when this film starts, this new Turtles, what you're seeing is never there, and it's never going to look like it's there. So yeah, I of course don't like the fact that they're CGI, and I know it's everywhere now, but I'm not gonna like that. And just, okay, quick subject change. If you go and find the Blu-ray for Ninja Turtles, by the way, the first film, and you look on the back, and they have the Turtles from Turtles 3 on the back, I'm just gonna say, just on behalf of the memory of Jim Henson, fuck you. Like a big fuck you to that. Because those costumes, you know, all the budget went into those costumes in the first film, and they look amazing, and they are so well done, they still hold up, and you know they're just like, oh, well, the new Turtles is coming out, we have to make that look good, because we know the CGI is shit, but we gotta make it look good, so let's just grab the ones from the third film and put them on the back of the box. Fuck you. Really. Long and hard, fuck you. Because those costumes are wonderful, and if for any other reason, you should check out the film just to see the puppetry. It's amazing. But anyway, you want to hear about this film. So, every single time there's something like a good change. I'm open to change, and there are some good changes in this. Every time they do something that's like a good change and kind of clever, they do something that's like, oh, typical Michael Bay bullshit. And it's so inconsistent. And the short version, if you just want the cliff notes, if you want, come on, get to the point, the movie's not good. It's not. But with that said, as someone who kind of acknowledges that Ninja Turtles is a stupid idea anyway, again, love them with all my heart, but it's a stupid idea. There's a lot of stuff they do that's actually kind of clever. For example, you know, Megan Fox is April O'Neil. I'll go into that first. Everyone's saying it's a terrible choice. It's not the best choice, it's not very good, but to her credit, there's a lot of scenes where I could see how it could have worked, especially when it starts out. Like, you have her bugging people all the time for the story. Geez, Miss O'Neil, don't you ever give up? You tap my phones, you follow me everywhere, you blah, 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 and that feels right. And there's a lot of times, particularly early on again, where she's kind of sneaking around and like other people are lined up to talk to a person, she'll sort of like, you know, cut in front of them, and that's April O'Neil. That's very clever. And I also like how when it starts off, you see that she's mostly doing kind of like Good Morning America stories, like, you know, ooh, let's see how to exercise with a trampoline. Don't I look goofy? Haha. Nobody takes me seriously, and she doesn't like that. That's a good setup. Like, this is clever stuff. But then there's other scenes where, like, or Splinter, who looks butt ugly in this, looks really bad. He looks like the original toy of Splinter. If you ever go back and find that, that's what he looks like. He's in trouble or something, she'll just come and go, Splinter, and walk off, and it's, no, come on, where's that energy? Where's that, you know, excitement you had a few seconds ago? And it's really inconsistent. And kind of the same thing, Will Arnett is kind of like the comic relief in this, and he's kind of the same way. Sometimes he'll get a laugh, and then other times you're like, really? That's the joke you're leaving on? That's the button at the end of that scene? Okay, I know you're funny. I don't know why you're not being funny here. They're not letting you or whatever, but yeah, so that's really inconsistent. When you see the Shredder, like, without the costume, my first thought was, boy, this could work. Like, they mostly keep him in shadow, but you can make him out just enough. He's got kind of these scars. He's got this deep, booming voice, but not cartoony deep like in the first film, you know, where it's like, how does he have that voice? There's no way to have that voice. You know, where in this one, when he puts the outfit on, that's why he has the deep, booming voice, and it sounds manipulated and robotic, but he looks robotic, so it kind of makes sense. His evil plan makes no sense. Wasn't it William Fincher, I think is his name? He's the only thing that is consistently great throughout this, because he is just hamming it up like mad, and he is having a great time with this performance, and he's kind of like the business end to the Shredder, and the plan makes no sense whatsoever. They, like, both of them want to destroy or put out this, like, evil disease that's gonna kill a lot of New York, so that Fincher has, like, the antidote, which he has to get from the Turtles, of course, to spread to all the people to save New York, in which case that will give him and the Shredder rule of New York, because he'll have so much money. even though he already has so much money anyway to do all this, he can create a super shredder suit. It's like, what else do you need? You already have this crime organization called the Foot. Call that because they step on people and oppress them. That's the bullshit reason. And they use guns, which on the one hand, it's like, well, it's not very ninja-like, but on the other hand, kind of makes sense. So I'm saying to myself, boy, that makes no sense whatsoever. That is a terrible, stupid plan. And I thought back to the first film, and I thought, yeah, what was the Shredder's plan in that? Steal shit. Was that really that great a plan either? It's even the second one's like, revenge. Yeah, and then what? What's your... what are you doing? So, in many ways, this film kind of made me realize some of the faults of, you know, the original setup of Turtles, all the Turtles films and the cartoon and stuff. I mean, stuff that, like I said, I always knew didn't make sense, and they tried to fix up. April actually has a connection to the Turtles before running into them. Like, she was actually the daughter of a scientist who was doing these mutations, and the Turtles were there, which made more sense than whatever, it ran into a fishbowl or whatever. This makes a lot more sense. And she's there, and she names them all after the Renaissance painters, because doesn't she look like someone who'd be into the Renaissance painters? Again, if they wrote her that way, great, but they don't. You know, she's smart, but she's not, she wouldn't know the Renaissance painters. But she names them Michelangelo, Donatello, and stuff, and she feeds them the little pizza and everything, so it's... On the one hand, I could see someone very easily not liking that, but I thought it was kind of clever. I thought it was clever giving a connection before she actually sees them when they're mutants. And it would have worked better if there was more of a connection between them. Like in the original cartoon, you see April showing them around and telling them how things work. You know, that was kind of her purpose. In the film, I can't remember if she did. I think she kind of did. You know, she was always their gateway into the human world. And here it's really not. She gets some information to help them out. Actually, she saves them more than the Turtles save her, which I thought was kind of cool. So there's all these little changes going on that I think are kind of clever and kind of smart. And even the way the Turtles look, which... I miss the snouts. I miss the big noses. If they had that, honestly, I would have had no problem with their design. But yeah, the fact that they're flat and they got those two little holes, and they look ugly. They look really ugly. But when you take that out, I like that they add more stuff to their identity. Leonardo has this very sort of samurai look, you know, and this chest and the swords and everything. Michelangelo is more the surfer, so he has kind of like this beaded necklace and kind of these tattoos and stuff. And Raphael is more the real tough guy, so he's got the bigger muscles and he's got kind of the headband as well. And Donatello is the science person, so he's got all this science gear on him constantly. I thought that was smart. I thought it was really clever because the Turtles... In the first movie, like, they do make the faces a little different so you can tell, but in the cartoon, it's just the color of the mask, like, nothing else. I mean, there's different personalities, but looking at them, you take out the color, you can't tell which is which. You know, oh, that one has the swords, it still doesn't count. So I thought that was very clever. The big failing point in this film is... they're trying to build up the connections between everybody. You know, it's about family. It's about... They even do the big stupid moral at the end where it's like, you know, now I know it's about trusting one another. Yeah, okay, whatever. Turtles don't need a moral, really. And they don't need it in a Michael Bay production, you know. But it's supposed to be kind of about that connection, and there really is not much of a connection. April does, even though they establish more of a connection, story-wise, she really doesn't have that much of a connection to them. You know, you don't remember much of the interaction off of them. And whether you want to blame Fox for that, or the writing, or maybe both, I don't know, but they don't have much of a connection. The Turtles themselves, particularly Raphael, who, ever since the first film, it's like... I get it. They didn't want Raphael, Michelangelo, and the cartoon were too similar. You know, they're both kind of the goofy, funny guys. You know, one's a little dumber and one's a little bit more cynical. Like, that's it. So it made sense to have one that was kind of like the Wolverine, the Rogue, and then one that was all the goofy, smart Alex stuff. And so Raphael's always kind of been the loner jerk, which is not a bad idea. I'm not against that. But, like, the exposition in this, like, as soon as they're done doing their first big fight, you know, they get back home and Raphael's like, yeah, things will be different. What do you mean? When I'm out of here and running on my own and stuff. It's like, it's so painful, that exposition. There's a lot of scenes like that. And the only one that can make it work, again, simply because he's just yucking it up, is the scientist guy, Fincher, whatever, because he's just like, when this is done, I'm gonna be rich. Like, stupid rich. You can just tell he doesn't care, but he's having fun with it. So that's sort of the big missing point. Even the connection with the Shredder, who, by the way, when he gets the costume on, I was laughing so hard. It is so Michael Bay's Shredder, just devoid of anything original, anything interesting, just big penis envy Shredder. Just like, muscles, big metal, that means it's good. It's just think about it, makes me laugh. And of course, like, you got, Shredder's a great design. I mean, okay, in the cartoon he looks pretty silly, you know, but like in the movie and in the comics, it's a great design. It's sort of this metal samurai and these sharp, you know, these sharp points and these great curves and the spikes on the, I mean, it's great. And they just made him into every other boring video game villain. And that's kind of a shame, because I thought the designs of the Turtles for the most part were kind of fun. They could have had fun with Shredder, but no, they just make him Robo Shredder, and when he's in the Shredder suit, he's every other bad guy. You would forget him instantly. And you don't forget Shredder. I mean, even in the cartoon, it's like he's still unforgettable, and this, you just forget him the second you see him. Him and Splinter have a fight. Splinter uses his tail now. Like, like, again, traditional Michael Bay bullshit. Like, his tail reaches out, like, can grab people around the neck and smash them against a wall. It's really funny. But it's meant to be cool. But it's not. It's funny. So the interaction off of them, the interaction with Splinter, the interaction with the Shredder, the interaction with April, there's no connection emotionally with them. I think that's the real big element missing, is because that was the fun of the Turtles, is seeing them all interact off each other. Hell, Shredder and Krang, like, they're pathetic villains, but you loved watching them interact off each other. Like, that was a big part of it. Not the only part, but a big part. And they try to force this stuff in. Most of the time it doesn't work. There's a scene at the end where they're falling off this cliff and they think they're all gonna die, and Raphael finally admits, you know, that, oh, I just didn't, all the times I was mean, it's because I was afraid and I really love you guys. We know, you dumbass movie. Even kids know. You don't need to Dark Knight it and do bullet points of every single thing that you're feeling and thinking. It just, no. Let the movie speak for itself. Let it have a moment. You want to know the best interaction in this movie? The part where I said, wow, like, that was not only Ninja Turtles, but that was them really connecting as, like, brothers and a unit and a family and everything. And it's a really silly scene, and you might laugh, but it's a scene where it's just before the great big fight. Like, they're in this elevator, and they're going up to fight the Shredder. And they're in there, and they're just waiting. And, you know, the elevator's going ding, ding, ding. And they're just sitting there, and it's a still shot. Fucking heaven forbid, remember those? Those can still exist. And I know why they don't do still shots either, because it's always like, I'll get to that in a second. Okay, so it's a still shot of them in the elevator, and the thing's dinging, and Michelangelo, just with his nunchucks, just goes, boop, 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 boop. And they kind of look at it, and you would think, because what they've been doing throughout the rest of the movie, they just go, Mikey, womp. and that's a connection. But no, he's doing it. Raphael's there, you know, the real gruff one, you know, no fun Raphael, and he goes... Leonardo's there, sort of looks over with his sword, and just all serious, just goes... Ding! 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 And Donatello starts to... And they get a song going before the big battle, and it's... You know, they don't bring in the actual, you know, the orchestra doesn't come in and play any music, they just keep it quiet, and it's... They start singing a little bit, and then they reach the floor, they go... Ah! And they go out there. Wonderful moment. It was funny, it showed how they connected, it was clever, and it was done in one shot, and you didn't have to rely on any gimmicks. It was just a funny, genuine moment. And there's so few of those in this movie, but I will say I thought there would be none. None like that whatsoever, and there's one or two. There's a few moments where I did feel... Okay, like, that's Michelangelo. Okay, that's Donatello. Like, they're a little different, but they got it in that scene. There's scenes where they get it. And again, for a guy who thought there would be nothing, this would be the ultimate boring film, there's many boring parts. But there are some scenes where they got it right. And I want to acknowledge when they do get it right. Now, for scenes where they get it wrong, I'm going to go back to that camera thing. Why are there always so many times in Michael Bay productions, the camera always moving? Like, for example, there's a scene where just a newscast is going on, and you just see the reporters talking, and they're just like, now this happened in the news today, let me tell you about it. And then you'll have the person watching, and it's like, wow, I'm listening to that right now. And then you'll have like a far off shot like this, and everyone will just be like, you know, wow, holy smokes, I can't believe what's going on here. And then you'll have a spinning shot like this, like, my God, this means the end of civilization as we know it. And it's all these fucking gimmicks, and it looks nice, but you go, why? I'll tell you why. Because whoever, producers, directors, whatever, very much Bay. I mean, this is Bay's bullshit. He, like, just exploit this to the nth degree, and the reason why is because he thinks that the camera angles doing that will make up for the fact that there is nothing on screen of potential. It is masking the fact that the film, it really is penis envy, because the film cannot hold you with just its characters and its writing. It can't, because there's nothing there. So, and even sometimes when there is something there, they don't want to take the chance. They don't want to risk it. You know, because they are that insecure of their product. That's what people are missing. They think that by having the big explosions and having the cameras constantly moving that they're, wow, they really want to show how big and major this is. No, they're actually very badly masking that they have nothing. And that's what people really gotta see. When you take that out of it, there's nothing there. Hell, I think that those tricks are drawing big arrows saying, we got nothing, we are empty, we are only doing what focus groups tell us sell. This is not poetry, this is math. This is blank plus blank equals blank, not someone expressing something. So you need to figure that out if you don't want to see any more of it. But in my opinion, actually, we are seeing much less. Again, with the Marvel movies and so on. I mean, we animated films and stuff, we're seeing much less of this, which I think is great. You just gotta see it with Bay, guys. I mean, and it will fade. I mean, that is sort of the one thing that's kind of uplifting, is that this will all go away. This is a fad. It really is. It's a fad going long, but people are going to wake up. They're already waking up. You know, like I said, we're getting good action movies, and we're getting movies with good characters and doing stuff that's different. And while Michael Bay and his dollars will keep throwing stuff at what you've already seen, at some point you're going to get bored. It's called evolving. And a lot of us want to stay primal and just want to see, you know, primal's good, we need to survive, but a lot of people are just going to want to stay in that one part and see the same thing over and over and over. But most of us, we want more, and that is what's happening, because I think we are getting better action films. but I really went off on a rant here. Sorry. Bay does that. I never met the guy, but he just brings out these fascinating emotions and the manipulation of the young, mostly. And I just find it fascinating. So, anywho. The one last thing I'll talk about, which is important to talk about, is the action in the movie. There's a scene... There's two really big action scenes. And there are probably three. There's one where they break into the turtle's home. And it's just shaky cam, bright lights, can't see a thing. It's stupid. There's one cool scene where Shredder tries to attack Splinter. Splinter doesn't even look. He has a sword. He's just like, do. That was cool. But it's every other boring, dumb Michael Bay trick. Slow-mo! And then you're fight. Slow-mo! And then you're fight. Boring. Then the second big action sequence comes up, and this is them going down they're going down this big cliff, this big snowy cliff, and it's actually well done. And I'll get back to that in a second. And then you get the big fight at the very end, which is just a fight on top of a building. Sounds familiar. And it's like you're watching nothing. You're just watching cartoons fight each other. And big whoop, who cares? I was asking myself, why did that snow sequence work? Why did I get involved in that? Why did I laugh at that? Why did I go, wow, and all these things? Because I know it's not there. You know, it's all CG, but why was I getting into that? And I realized it's two things. One, it's a different scenario. It's them constantly sliding down. And them trying to work out, be creative, how they're going to get out of a predicament. If someone's like shooting something that's going to electrocute somebody, you know, how do you get that off? How do you fight them? How do you do it while going down this cliff constantly? So and there's a lot of scenes of them sliding down stuff. And those scenes seem to work. And like I said, it's not only the creativity, but I realize when you have the speed of that going, when you're constantly moving at that speed, gravity doesn't play as big a part. Or maybe it plays a bigger part than expected because you're going so fast. So when you hit something, you're going to still keep projecting forward. So the weight of it isn't as big a deal. In fact, if anything, it's more fun when they hit something and they go spinning or they flip over or something like that. In all the other action sequences, there's no respect for that gravity. There's no respect to how much these characters weigh. Or again, maybe it's a mathematical equation. Well, no, a character this big would naturally jump this high. But no, you're doing the math again. It's not the poetry. When a character is jumping and fighting the Shredder, there is no weight to them because you know it's a cartoon and you're just going to see them fight. What's the most boring part of a cartoon? When they're doing regular fighting, that's really boring. But when they're doing something cartoony that you haven't really seen before, that's interesting, like them sliding down the cliff. So anytime they're straight on fighting, it's not very interesting. But anytime they have a different scenario where the animation can really shine, that's great. If we saw Jackie Chan doing Kung Fu, that'd be cool because A, they put a lot of work and effort into it, and B, it's really there. It's amazing to watch it because you know it's not an illusion. They're really fighting, and when one hand is blocked like this, that's really blocking. In Ninja Turtles, you're watching a cartoon. When you see this, it's not there, and you know it's not there. So you have to make up for that by giving creative scenarios, and the cliff was a creative scenario. And it was so creative that the illusion works better because they're constantly going downhill, so it can mask the fact that they don't have the weight down and they don't have the gravity down of it. So the action for the most part is very boring, but there's one or two scenarios where they do something kind of clever. Even Splinter with the dumbass tail, it's kind of fun to see him. He's fighting one guy and then his tail can grab another guy and constantly keep smashing him to the ground. That's creative. It's stupid. But again, it's Ninja Turtles, you know, it's kind of comes with the territory. And yeah, so every single time there was something that kind of worked or was kind of clever. Like I remember when she goes to the person in charge of Channel 6. It's actually called Channel 6 this time. I don't know why they always did a different channel name. But when she goes to Channel 6 and says, no, I found turtles, and I have a picture, it's a really bad picture, and it's blah, 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 I'll say to myself, well, she'd be fired. Sure enough, next scene, she's carrying her stuff out, she's fired. I'm like, oh, okay. You know, like, they're actually sort of accounting for this, but then you'll have something that makes no fucking sense at all. Like, there's this, the Shredder's assistant, I guess? I don't know, or the head of the foot, kind of. And she's this cool-looking lady. She's got, like, this pink stripe in her hair, and she's got this great, tough look and stuff. I'm like, ooh, no, who's this character gonna be? She's gonna be really good. She does, like, nothing. I mean, she is almost entirely pointless. You could have cut her out and missed nothing. Every single time there's a good step, like something that's kind of clever, it balances it out by having something Michael Bay stupid bullshit. I just want to clarify, every time, I can't tell when Michael Bay has something good to offer to the film, because maybe he does. I mean, it's really mean to say, like, everything he has is a bad idea. There could have been recommendations he had that were good recommendations, but the thing is, you can't tell when they're the good recommendations. But you can always tell when they're the bad recommendations. You can look at a scene of really lame action and boring ethics and the music going, oh, you know, when really nothing is going on, you know, but they want you to think something is going on, and that's Michael Bay. This may sound really, really scatterbrained, and I will say I really wanted to kind of hate it. I wanted to hate it for it being really, really boring, and for me watching nothing on it. Like I said, I thought I was going to get Transformers 5, and there's more thought put into it than people are probably giving it credit for. If you're a Turtles fan, if you never heard of Turtles, this is stupid, don't even try it, you're not going to get into it at all. It is fucking dumb. Don't waste your time if you're not a Turtles fan at all. Like if you never heard of it or whatever. In terms of other Turtles fan, it's just gonna depend on you because there's so many incarnations of the Ninja Turtles. Again, it's so strange, but there are so many different incarnations, and depending on your connection to them, what you think they should be, you're all just gonna have a different reaction to this movie. And I don't even think it's gonna be like split right down the middle where either people love it or hate it. I think it's gonna be like everyone's gonna kind of like it but then hate this stuff, or kind of hate it but really like this. I think it's gonna be all over the map. But I'm glad it's at least that instead of just a bore fest. Like I just watched nothing. So I do really give it credit for that. I don't think it's a good movie. And it's still dumb, but there's more thought put into it than at least I thought I was going to get for a Michael Bay production. So, yeah, that's about it. This has probably been a really long vlog here, but and totally scatterbrained, but yeah, I don't know. It played with my thoughts on Ninja Turtles and this movie in a way I didn't think it was going to, and I give it credit for at least doing that. So take it for what it's worth. Hopefully you can figure out if this will be the film for you, and I'll just see you guys later. Take care.